Hi, hello, and good morning to everyone listening. Welcome to Business Paper Review with me, Kalu Aja. We try to do this every Monday to start our week right. Talk about the papers, how it affects us, on a personal level, and just try to give an analysis of the major news stories out there. So let's get right into it. I think it was Friday or last week we saw ASU and the federal government, or we basically saw ASU call off the strike. Now, if you guys are aware, the federal government took ASU to court, and the court agreed with the federal government's position that ASU should go back to classes. ASU has held their Congress and has agreed that they are going to go back to classes. Of course, the budget had a lot of funding that was earmarked for ASU. They're going to pay their back salaries. There's going to be a tertiary fund investment, all in the billions, right? ASU's going to get a few billions in that budget to sort of meet their aspirations right now. But also in that budget, the federal government is also spending about 1 billion on IPPIS. So that part of the ASU's issue with IPPIS has not gone away. I felt that was wrong for ASU to chase. So right now, I think we're happy that the students are going to be back in school, and the economy in the schools. That is the also an important part. Will kick off. The rents, the feeding, and all that will start off and at least help the economy a bit. So that's a bit of a positive news there. It's not over. This is a strike suspension. ASU obviously will talk with the incoming government, and of course, if they don't meet an agreement, they're going to go on strike again. That's guaranteed. But now there are about three more, or is it two more unions now, making it three unions representing universities. Let's see how it pans out. So that's just to make that out there. The second story, guys, is going to be this Dangote and Kogi story. We touched on it last week, and we said, Kogi had sent quote unquote armed vigilantes to the Dangote cement company. I think it's called Obachana. To shut it down over a disagreement over ownership and community relations and all that. And our point was we don't want to get too involved into the legality, who is right, who is wrong. We made the point that this Dangote cement company in Obachana and Kogi State, is the largest cement factory in all of Africa, right? Dangote Cement itself is the largest quoted company in Nigeria. This story has already been carried in Bloomberg, and they use the term invasion by state armed militia. They use that term there. So if that's the term they are using, that's the term that's going to be read by everyone outside Nigeria. So it hurts Nigeria. It hurts investment and FDIs flowing into the country. I mean, the guys on Bloomberg are going to say if Mr. Dangote, the richest man in Africa, cannot protect his own cement factory in Nigeria, then what hope do we have? So, of course, the federal government understood that that's going to be a threat to Nigerian investments in general. They stepped in, or they tried to step in and say, hey, let's have some peace. I saw a picture with the governor and Dangote. They weren't smiling. Hopefully, they were trying to reach an agreement. And I'm just reading the papers. They are both saying, Kogi is saying they're going to go to court to enforce the agreement. Dangote is explaining that they didn't really grab any land. I mean, the summary is that Kogi is saying that there was a company existing and Dangote came and bought it and all that. And Dangote is saying, listen, we're a PLC. You guys had a chance to invest, you didn't invest. Again, we don't want to get into that legality, who is right, who is not right. But the point again is this: Kogi has to understand this is a PLC, right? Whatever you do to this company, it's now quote unquote too big to fail. That's an economic term. It doesn't really matter if you are right, if they are wrong. You have to do it the right way. You have to go to court and make your case in court. You can't invade that company because the news reverberates across the world, and of course, it will affect everyone's investment. So that's on Dangote and Kogi, hoping that they will get that act together and then they will sort it out. All right, guys, let's go into the papers for sure. My first headline is really going to be on the This Day newspapers, and we're talking about federal government talking about subsidies. So the federal government again, the title here is again, federal government says they're going to end subsidies in June of 2023. If you guys have been following subsidies and the federal government, you would understand by now that the government is basically waiting for Dangote refinery to kick off. Once Dangote refinery kicks off, that's when they want to end subsidies. That's really their plan. All these dates are just moving because Dangote is not yet ready. If they're ready today, they will kick it off. But we have to ask the question, will the Dangote refinery really solve the costs, right, associated with subsidies? I mean, the real cost is going to solve, in my mind, is going to be the transportation, right? I heard the CBN governor speaking in Washington, and he was saying they're going to buy the crude in Naira, and we're also going to pay in Naira as well. So that takes away a bit of the exchange rate fluctuations for Dangote. It makes it a bit more stable for Nigeria. We might lose revenues, but it's a bit more stable for our forex right there. So if we are paying Naira, then we're going to save on the transportation and the storage. So how much of that is going to drill down to the pump per price is what I'm not sure of, right? But that's really what's going to happen. The cost will come down a bit, or the cost will be captured, like it will stay the same. But I don't see 20-30% off the pump price. I don't see that. I think the only way pump prices go down is by via competition and supply. If Dangote can supply enough, probably the prices go down. But I mean, let me please just open this up. Let people do swap agreements. You can export cashew and bring in diesel. And let's see if that competition will bring the prices down. But for now, they are saying 2023, they've spent about 4 trillion, they say, 4 trillion on fuel subsidies. This is the biggest waste in Nigeria's history. This fuel subsidies, nothing you can tell me about it. It's just a waste. To have cheap fuel, we're ignoring investing in infrastructure, in health, education. There's no way you can compare both of them. So all this money is being wasted, really, and it's being exported out and stolen. That's even the worst part. If we were enjoying this subsidy 100%, you could argue that, okay, probably yes, but we're not. It's been exported out. So really, it's a double whammy. But again, guys, whenever you read Nigerian papers, you've got to read the whole thing because they hide very good nuggets inside the report. So inside this report, we see the budget director Ben Akabule talking about the Nigerian budget, talking specifically about taxes, right? And he's making a point that Nigeria has the lowest GDP to tax in Africa. We're at about 8% tax GDP in Africa, right? He's saying that the plan of the government or the target of the government is to raise revenues to debt. Let me make sure I'm getting it correctly. Is to raise, yeah, revenues to GDP. So we want to take revenues to GDP to about 15% by 2025. That's their overall target. So that revenues that we get from taxation would rise to 15% in about, so we say about 3 years from now. Right now, we are about 8%. They want to double that more or less to about 15% in about 3 years. Is it possible? Will FIRS be able to double their collections in say 36 months? I think it all comes down to the confidence really Nigerians have in who the next president will be. If Nigerians see that the new president comes in, they're going to cut costs, they're going to invest. You might see some, let's pay our taxes to help out. But if it's just going to be just that same, hey, let's just spend money anyway. People aren't going to pay taxes if they feel that money is going to be wasted. So that's a target right there for Nigeria to raise GDP to raise revenues to GDP to by 15% by 2025. But what's really striking me is that Nigeria has the lowest tax to GDP in all of Africa at 8%. Very low. That's really something that we have to work on, right, guys? So like I said, you have to read the papers and get that drill down really to get that nugget which we found there. The other thing I saw in the papers today was also Geregu Power. So Geregu Power, if you guys don't know, is one of the Gegencos, generate a lot of power, gas-powered plants. They are now listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, so we can take a peek into their results and see what's going on. Are these guys making a profit? Are they making a loss? Let me give you just the top headline, right? Their revenues, this is as at quarter three for 2022. Their revenues about 39 billion. Not a lot, right? They made about 54 billion last year. This year, 39 billion. So it's down about 28%. Their profit after tax is 10 billion, also down by 11%. So it's just 10 billion for 9 months for 2022. So the question is, why are they? I mean, 10 billion is not a lot of money for a utility, right? Remember that they're not paying any dividend. So out of this 10 billion, no dividend, no bonus, nothing. So I had to find out, well, how come they're not paying dividends? Well, they have a bond. They issued a bond of 40 billion. So the company borrowed 40 billion to buy this gas plant. And because they have this bond, they are paying the interest to the bond holders before they pay the equity holders. So that's where all their money is going to, really, to pay down the bond. And so the real question, the real story here for me is, why are they not really making a lot of money? We see that the gas pipelines, in this case the oil theft that we're seeing, also affected them because Shell shut down their pipelines, right? They get gas supplies from Shell, and Shell declared a force majeure based on all the breakage in all their pipes. So this affected their ability to generate power and distribute power. That's one thing they are talking about. And of course, this bond that they are paying has sucked away all their, should we say, cash that they could have got given back to investors. But I like the fact that they are listed, and you can have a sense now of how power generating companies are performing in Nigeria. You can see the profits, you can see the taxes, and you can essentially see if this is really a very good investment. All over the world, utilities pay a higher rate of dividends. So when you're buying a utility, you are buying that company because you want dividends. That's why you buy them. So when you start to see a utility not paying a dividend, then that should basically get your antenna up. All right, guys, we're about 12 minutes, about 2 more minutes to go. Just a few short stories. IMF advising central banks all across the world, including Nigeria, not to focus too much on using the exchange rate as a means to run the economy, but to try to do more macroeconomic tools, i.e., do fiscal measures like do taxes. So that's IMF essentially telling Nigeria and the central bank, don't try to ban, say, rice from the FX market. Rather, do taxes to incentivize local production, things like that. That's what I'm saying, because the dollar is rising across the world, and every time the Fed, the US Federal Reserve, increases the price or the interest rate that dollar would earn, it affects all emerging currencies, including Nigeria. And the reason is pretty simple, right? If you are earning in dollars, if in the year 2000, or just even say 2017, you had money in dollars, you held a dollar index, you are getting nothing. That's, if you put in the bank, you get less than 1%. If you buy the dollar index, you get nothing really, right? But now, if you bought the US dollar index, you're getting a lot more, 3-4%. If you put money in the bank, you're getting more than 1%, because the Fed is raising rates in the US. So, what that means for emerging nations like Nigeria is that we are paying a higher interest rate because we are risky. But right now, the rates in the US markets are now rising. So investors are going to be like, why would I buy Nigeria when I can buy the US? I don't get the same rate, right? But at least the risk premium has reduced a bit. So let me just stay in the US. So this is across the board. It's just not Nigeria. Turkey, Indonesia, every currency that's emerging is suffering because the US rates are going up. And if last week the results on the job market is any indication, the Fed is also going to raise rates by at least 3/4 basis points again this cycle. So that will be more pain for emerging currencies like Nigeria that issued euro bonds. I think I just saw a report this morning that Fidelity Bank has paid off their euro bond as well. So good for them. They don't want to be exposed. You don't want to be exposed really to dollar at this time, especially if you are paying and the rates on dollar are rising. So like a dollar credit card, anything that you are paying dollars, you don't want to be exposed to that. All right, guys. So that's the end of my little analysis on Monday. I think I have one speaker. I got Abdul Rahman. Abdul Rahman, what's happening to you, bro? What's up? What's up? What's on your mind? Hey, Abdul Rahman, you got to unmute. And let's hear what you want to say. Early morning. What's up? And guys, if you have a quick comment, just request to speak. I'll add you. We can do maybe a few minutes of interaction. Then we can call today. Let you guys get back to your morning and go make that money. Okay, let me get Harry in here. Just adding you guys real quick. Give me a quick sec. There we go. Yeah, Harry, go for it. Harry, what's up? Harry, you got to unmute. Hit the mute button, and then you can speak. Okay, guys, going once, going twice. All right, guys. All right, guys. Enjoy your Monday. You guys go make that money. We've got some great news today. So you guys go make that money. I will try to see you guys during the week. But if we've seen any good news, but otherwise, I think it's starting off fresh. And you guys stay good, stay blessed. I go make that money. Take care, guys. Bye.